The stars around the Sol system had been quiet for thousands of years. Then something changed. Deep in space, sensors on the Zephyrian command ship began to beep. Strange energy readings were coming from the third planet of a small yellow star. Commander. Vex-High stood in the center of his ship's bridge. His tall, thin body was covered in blue scales that shimmered in the soft light. Like all Zephyrians, he was proud of his race's power and beauty. They had conquered 17 star systems without losing a single battle. Every species they met either surrendered quickly or died. What are these readings? Vex-High asked his science officer. Unknown energy patterns, Commander. They seem to be coming from a primitive world called Earth. The beings there call themselves humans. Vex-High looked at the data on his screen. The energy signatures were rough and crude. Nothing like the elegant technology his people used. How primitive are they? Very primitive, sir. Their ships look like flying metal boxes. No artistic design at all. They use chemical rockets and simple nuclear power. Vex-High laughed. In all his years of conquest, he had never seen anything so backward. Prepare the fleet. We will visit these humans and add their system to our empire. The Zephyrian fleet was beautiful to see. 20 ships moved through space like dancers. Their hulls were made of living crystal that glowed with soft colors. Each ship was a work of art, designed to inspire fear and wonder in enemies. When other species saw the Zephyrian fleet, they usually surrendered without a fight. 3 days. Later, the alien ships reached the outer edge of the human solar system. Jupiter's moon, Europa, had a small mining station orbiting around it. The station looked like a collection of metal boxes held together with pipes and cables. Ugly, but functional. Contact that station, XI ordered. We will begin with the standard protocol. The communication screen flickered to life. A human face appeared. Pale skin, short brown hair, and tired eyes. The man was wearing a dirty work uniform. He looked like he had just finished a long shift. This is Captain Jake Morrison of the mining vessel Lucky Strike. Who are you people? Vex-High was surprised by the casual tone. Most species trembled when they first saw a Zephyrian. This human just looked annoyed. I am Commander Vex-High of the Zephyrian Empire. You will surrender your system immediately or face destruction. Jake Morrison yawned and scratched his chin. Yeah, about that. I'm just a mining captain. I dig rocks and haul them around. You want to threaten somebody? You need to talk to the government folks back on Earth. You do not understand, Vex-High said, his voice growing cold. This is not a negotiation. Surrender now, or we will destroy your pathetic station. Morrison looked around his bridge. 2 other humans were there, a woman with red hair and an older man with gray beard. They all looked completely calm. Well, I can't surrender the whole system, Morrison said. That's way above my pay grade. But I can tell you that the Navy boys are probably already on their way. Might want to wait for them. Vex-High was confused. In 17 conquered systems, no species had ever been this calm during first contact. Fear was the usual response. Fear, followed by quick surrender. These humans acted like meeting aliens was a normal part of their day. Your navy will be destroyed, Vex-High said. We have conquered many worlds. Your primitive ships cannot stand against us. Maybe, Morrison said with a shrug. But that's their job, not mine. I'm just here to mine ice and metals. You want a war? Talk to Admiral Phillips. She's the one with all the big guns. The connection ended. Morrison had simply hung up on them. Vex-High stared at the blank screen. Never in his military career had anyone treated him with such disrespect. Every other species had begged for mercy or tried to negotiate. These humans just seemed irritated by the interruption. Sir, should we destroy the mining station? His weapons officer asked. No, Vexhai said after a moment. We will wait for their warships. I want to see what these humans consider a military force. His science officer was scanning the human station. Commander, their technology is very basic. Simple nuclear reactors, chemical thrusters, primitive weapons. Nothing that could threaten us. And yet they show no fear, Vexhai said quietly. In my experience, only two types of beings show no fear when facing superior force. The very stupid, or the very dangerous. Surely they are just stupid, sir. Vexhai wasn't so sure. Something about the human's casual confidence bothered him. Morrison had acted like he knew something the Zephyrians didn't. Meanwhile, on the mining station, Jake Morrison was talking to his crew in the break room. The room was small and cramped, with metal walls and bright overhead lights. Nothing beautiful about it, but it worked. So, what do you think, Captain? Asked Beth Collins, the red-haired engineer. Those aliens looked pretty scary. Scary? Morrison laughed. They looked like they spend more time polishing their ships than learning how to fight. Did you see how pretty their fleet was? All those lights and colors? Pretty doesn't mean weak, said Pete Wilson, the older crew member. No, but it means they care more about looking good than being effective, Morrison replied. Real warships don't need to be pretty. They just need to work. Morrison walked to a small window and looked out at space. Far in the distance, he could see the alien ships glowing like jewels. They were beautiful, he had to admit. Besides, he said, they made one big mistake. What's that? Beth asked. Morrison smiled. They gave Admiral Phillips time to get here. And trust me, when the Admiral shows up with the battle fleet, those pretty aliens are going to learn what human warships are really for. Admiral Kate Phillips stood on the bridge of the Un's Valor, looking at the tactical display. The screen showed the positions of alien ships near Jupiter. 20 contacts, all moving in perfect formation. It looked dangerous. Report, she said. To her intelligence officer, Lieutenant Commander Ryan Torres stepped forward with a data pad. The aliens call themselves Zephyrians. They've been monitoring our communications for the past 6 hours. Their ships are more advanced than ours in some ways. Which ways? Phillips asked. Energy shields, faster engines, and beam weapons that can cut through most materials. But there's something odd about their battle tactics. Phillips raised an eyebrow. Odd how? They seem to fight like it's some kind of art form. Perfect formations. Elegant maneuvers, lots of show. Every battle we've found in their history follows the same pattern. They arrive, put on an impressive display, and the enemy surrenders. And if the enemy doesn't surrender, they've never had that problem before. Every species they've met has given up without a real fight. Phillips walked to the main view screen. Outside, she could see other human warships moving into formation. The UN's Courage, UN's Defiant, and UNS Relentless were all approaching. Unlike the alien ships, human vessels looked like what they were, weapons of war. The UN's Valor was typical of human military design. It was built like a flying fortress, with thick armor plates covering every surface. Gun turrets stuck out at odd angles. Engine exhaust ports glowed with blue fire. Nothing about it was pretty, but every part had a purpose. What's our weapons status? Phillips asked. All systems ready, Admiral, replied Commander Lisa Hayes from the weapons station. Rail guns loaded, missile tubes armed, point defense systems online. We're carrying enough firepower to level a small moon. Phillips nodded. Human military doctrine was simple. If something needed to be destroyed, use overwhelming force. Don't take chances, don't show off. Just get the job done. Communications. Patch me through to Captain Morrison at the mining station. The screen flickered and showed the mining captain's tired face. He was still wearing his work clothes, and still looked annoyed. "Admiral, good to see you. These aliens have been sitting out here making demands for hours." "What kind of demands?" "The usual. Conqueror stuff. Surrender or die. Bow to their empire. That sort of thing. I told them they'd have to wait for you." Phillips smiled slightly. Morrison was exactly the kind of person she liked, calm under pressure and not easily impressed. "How are they acting?" "Arrogant. They keep talking about how superior they are and how primitive we look. I get the feeling they think this is going to be easy." "Maybe it will be," Phillips said. "For us." Meanwhile, on the Zephyrian command ship, Vex High was studying the approaching human fleet. The ships were ugly and crude, but there were more of them than expected. His science officer was running scans. "What do the scans show?" Vex High asked. "Heavy armor, primitive but powerful weapons, and lots of redundant systems. These ships are built to take damage and keep fighting." "How much damage?" "More than any ship should be able to survive, Commander. It's like they expect to be shot at." Vex High found this puzzling. Zephyrian ships were designed to avoid damage through speed and shields. The idea of building a ship to absorb punishment seemed wasteful. Their weapons? Crude but effective. Magnetic railguns that fire solid metal projectiles at incredible speed. Chemical explosive missiles. Some kind of particle beam system. Nothing elegant, but very destructive. Vex High watched the human ships on his display. They moved in a loose formation, not the perfect patterns his people used. There was no beauty in their approach, no artistry. They just came straight forward like machines. "Sir, we're receiving a transmission from the human fleet." "Put it on." Screen. Admiral Phillips appeared on the Zephyrian bridge display. She was a woman with short gray hair and cold blue eyes. Her uniform was simple and practical. No decorations or fancy designs. "I am Admiral Kate Phillips of the United Nations. Space Navy. You have entered human space without permission and threatened our people. You have one chance to leave peacefully." Vex High couldn't believe what he was hearing. This primitive human was threatening him? "I am Commander Vex High of the Zephyrian Empire. We have conquered 17 star systems. Your crewed ships are no match for our technology. Surrender now, and your people will be spared." Phillips looked at him for a long moment. Her expression didn't change. "I've seen your ships," she said finally. "Very pretty. But we're not here to admire your artwork. You have 10 minutes to begin withdrawal from this system. After that, we will consider you hostile and act accordingly. You dare threaten us?" Vex High's voice rose in anger. "We will destroy your pathetic fleet and burn your worlds." 10 minutes, Phillips repeated and cut the connection. Vex High stood in stunned silence. No species had ever spoken to him like that. The human admiral had shown no fear, no respect for Zephyrian power. She had looked at him like he was just another problem to solve. "Prepare for battle," he ordered. "We will show these humans the price of defiance." Back on the Ung's Valor, Admiral Phillips was giving orders to her fleet. "All ships, battle stations. Load all weapons and prepare for combat. Remember, these aliens have never faced an enemy that fights back. They're used to easy victories against scared opponents." "What if they're more dangerous than they seem?" asked Commander Hayes. "Then we'll find out together," Phillips replied. "But I've been studying their tactics. They fight like they're performing in a theater. Perfect formations, elegant moves, lots of style. That works fine against enemies who give up easily." "And against enemies who don't give up?" Phillips looked at the tactical display showing both fleets moving toward each other. The alien ships glowed like jewels against the black of space. The human ships looked like gray metal sharks, hungry for battle. "Against enemies who don't give up," she said. "Pretty formations just make you easier to target." The two fleets continued to close the distance. On both sides, crews prepared for battle. But they were preparing in very different ways. The Zephyrians checked their elegant beam weapons and practiced their graceful combat maneuvers. They expected another easy victory against a primitive species. The humans loaded their guns with solid metal slugs, armed their explosive missiles, and prepared for a fight to the death. They had never learned how to surrender gracefully. Admiral Phillips stood on her bridge and watched the alien ships getting closer. In a few minutes, both sides would learn something new about warfare. The Zephyrians would discover what happened when pretty ships met ugly ones designed for killing, and the humans would find out if their philosophy was right, that in war, function always beats form. The two fleets met in the empty space between Mars and Jupiter. For a moment, neither side moved. The Zephyrian ships floated like glowing artwork against the stars. The human ships looked like dark, angry metal beasts waiting to strike. Commander, HFY opened communications to all human vessels. His message was broadcast on every frequency, meant to be heard by every human in the system. People of Earth, you are now subjects of the Zephyrian Empire. Your crude civilization will be improved under our guidance. Surrender now, and you will be treated fairly. Resist, and your species will be destroyed. Admiral Phillips listened to the message without expression. Then she opened her own channel to respond. This is Admiral Phillips to all alien vessels. You have entered human space illegally and threatened human lives. You have refused our order to withdraw. Under the laws of war, you are now considered enemy combatants. Surrender or face the consequences. HFY laughed at the human response. These primitives still didn't understand their situation. You speak of laws of war as if you were our equals. Watch and learn what true power looks like. The Zephyrian fleet began to move. It was a beautiful sight. 20 ships glided through space in perfect formation, their crystal hulls glowing with soft light. They moved like dancers, each ship in exactly the right position. Beam weapons fired in precise patterns, creating streams of colored light that painted space with deadly art. The display was meant to inspire terror and awe. Every species that had seen it before had immediately surrendered. The elegant ships moved through complex maneuvers that showed perfect control and advanced technology. On the bridge of the Unnes Valor, the human crew watched the alien demonstration. The tactical officer looked impressed despite himself. Those are some fancy moves, he said. Very pretty, agreed Commander Hayes. Now let's show them what we think of pretty. Admiral Phillips stepped forward to the communications station. All ships, this is Admiral Phillips. You may fire when ready. The human response was nothing like what the Zephyrians expected. There was no warning, no dramatic speech, no elegant formation. The human ships simply opened fire with everything they had. Railguns fired solid metal slugs at tremendous speed. Missiles streaked toward alien targets trailing fire. Particle beams lanced out in straight, brutal lines. The human ships didn't move like dancers. They moved like predators going in for the kill. Captain Lisa Hayes commanded the destroyer Uns Relentless. Her ship was smaller than the battleships, but it carried enough weapons to destroy a city. When the order came to fire, she didn't hesitate. All weapons, continuous fire. Target their pretty formations and break them up. The first human salvo caught the Zephyrians completely by surprise. They had expected some kind of formal challenge, maybe a duel between champion ships. Instead, the humans had simply started shooting without ceremony. A railgun slug traveling at 10% of light speed smashed into a Zephyrian cruiser. The elegant crystal hull cracked and shattered. The ship spun out of control. It's perfect. Formation broken. Impossible, HFY shouted. Their weapons cannot penetrate our shields. But the human weapons weren't trying to penetrate the shields in the traditional way. The railgun slugs were solid metal, moving so fast they carried enormous kinetic energy. When they hit the shields, they didn't bounce off. They transferred all their momentum to the target ship. A second Zephyrian vessel was hit by 3 missiles at once. The chemical explosives weren't sophisticated, but they were powerful. The ship's shields flared and failed. The beautiful hull was torn open by the brutal explosions. Return fire. Vex High ordered. Destroy these savages. The Zephyrian beam. Weapons lanced out toward the human ships. The elegant energy streams were precise and powerful. They hit the UNS Courage and carved deep cuts in its armored hull. But the human ship didn't stop fighting. It didn't even slow down. The thick armor plates absorbed most of the damage, and backup systems kept the weapons firing. Captain Nick Rodriguez commanded the UNS Courage. When his ship was hit, he calmly gave new orders. Engineering, reroute power from non-essential systems. To weapons, medical, prepare for casualties. All hands, this is what we trained for. The human ships continued their relentless attack. They didn't try to look good or fight elegantly. They just kept shooting, kept moving forward, kept trying to destroy their enemies. Commander Vex High watched in growing horror as his perfect formation was torn apart. The humans fought like wild animals, with no regard for the artistry of combat. When one human ship was damaged, it didn't withdraw. It charged forward and tried to ram the nearest alien vessel. "This is barbaric," he shouted. "They have no honor, no discipline." His science officer was frantically working at his station. "Commander, I'm analyzing their tactics. They don't seem to have any tactics. They're just trying to destroy us as quickly as possible. That's not how warfare works. There should be rules, protocols, elegant maneuvers. The humans don't seem to know about the rules, sir." On the UN's Valor, Admiral Phillips watched the battle unfold on her tactical display. The aliens were good fighters, but they were fighting the wrong kind of war. They kept trying to maintain their beautiful formations, while the humans just concentrated fire on one target at a time. "Focus fire on the big one in the center," she ordered. That's their command ship. 6 human warships turned their weapons toward Vex High's flagship. Railguns, missiles, and particle beams all targeted the same vessel. The concentrated firepower was enormous. The Zephyrian command ship's shields flared brighter and brighter as they absorbed the punishment. The crystal hull began to crack under the stress. Inside, Vex High felt his perfect world beginning to crumble. "This cannot be happening," he whispered. "We are the superior race. We have conquered 17 systems." His tactical officer looked from his damaged console. "Sir, we're losing. The humans don't fight like any species we've encountered. They don't care about losses. They don't care about honor. They just want to win." Vex High stared at the tactical display. Half his fleet was damaged or destroyed. The elegant formations were broken. His beautiful ships were being torn apart by crude human weapons. For the first time in his life, he began to understand what his victims had felt when the Zephyrian fleet arrived. The difference was that those other species had surrendered quickly. The humans just kept fighting. "Sir," his communications officer called out, "we're receiving a message from the human admiral." Philip's face appeared on the screen. Her ship had taken damage too. There was smoke behind her and sparks from damaged systems. But her expression was calm and determined. "Commander Vex High, this is your last chance. Surrender now, or we will destroy every ship in your fleet." Vex High looked around his damaged bridge. His crew was staring at him, waiting for orders. Outside, human weapons continued to tear his fleet apart. He had 2 choices: surrender to primitives, or continue a battle he was clearly losing. For a proud Zephyrian commander, it was no choice at all. "Never!" Vex-High shouted at the human admiral. The Zephyrian Empire does not surrender to primitives. He cut the communication and turned to his weapons officer. All ships, attack Formation 7. Show these humans the true power of our empire. The surviving Zephyrian vessels tried to reform into their elegant battle pattern, but the humans didn't give them time. As soon as the communication ended, the human fleet attacked with even greater fury. This was when the aliens learned the most terrifying thing about human warfare. They didn't fight to look good or prove their superiority. They fought to win, no matter what it cost. The Uns Defiant had taken heavy damage from alien beam weapons. Half the ship was torn open to space. Most species would have retreated or surrendered. Captain Nick Rodriguez had a different idea. All power to engines, he ordered his crew. We're going to ram that big crystal ship. His bridge crew looked at him with surprise, but nobody questioned the order. They had trained for this situation. When human ships couldn't win with weapons, they won with courage. The Defiant accelerated toward the largest Zephyrian cruiser. The alien ship's crew saw the human vessel approaching and fired everything they had. Beam weapons carved deep wounds in the Defiant's hull, but the ship kept coming. "Sir, we have massive hull breaches," reported the damage control officer. "Life support is failing on decks 3 through 7. "Keep us on course," Rodriguez replied. "All hands prepare for impact. It's been an honor serving with you." The Defiant slammed into the Zephyrian cruiser at full speed. Both ships exploded in a ball of fire and twisted metal. The elegant alien vessel was destroyed, taking Rodriguez and his crew with it. On the Zephyrian command ship, Vex-High watched in horror. They destroyed themselves just to kill one of our ships. What kind of madness is this? His science officer was pale with shock. "Commander, this behavior is completely outside our understanding of warfare. They treat their own lives as weapons." The battle continued around them with brutal intensity. The Un's courage was badly damaged, but still fighting. Captain Sarah Blake had lost half her weapons and most of her armor, but she refused to withdraw. "Engineering, how's our reactor?" she asked over the ship's communication system. Chief Engineer Sam Carter was working in a compartment filled with smoke and sparks. "It's running hot, Captain. We've got coolant leaks, and the containment field is failing." "How long before it explodes?" "Maybe 10 minutes if we're lucky." Blake looked at the tactical display. The nearest alien ship was a beautiful Zephyrian destroyer, its crystal hull glowing with soft blue light. It was too close to miss. "Sam, can you make it explode sooner?" There was silence on the communication channel. Then Carter's voice came back, calm and steady. "Yes, Captain. I can do that. All hands, abandon ship. This is not a drill. You have 3 minutes to reach the escape pods." Blake watched her crew evacuate the ship. When the last pod was away, she opened a channel to the alien destroyer. "Attention, Zephyrian vessel. This is Captain Blake of the UNS Courage. You wanted to see human warfare. Here's a lesson for you." She activated the reactor overload. The Un's Courage exploded like a small star. The alien destroyer was caught in a blast and vaporized instantly. Commander Vex-High could not believe what he was seeing. The humans were using their own ships as bombs. They were sacrificing themselves without hesitation to destroy his fleet. "This is not warfare," he whispered. "This is insanity." But it was working. His beautiful fleet was being torn apart by human brutality. The elegant formations were broken. Ships that had conquered star systems were being destroyed by flying metal boxes with big guns. The worst part was the humans didn't seem to care about their losses. When a human ship was damaged, it didn't retreat. It became more dangerous. When human crew members were injured, they kept fighting. When their weapons failed, they used their ships as weapons. On the Un's Valor, Admiral Phillips was coordinating the battle from her command center. Her flagship had taken heavy damage. The bridge was gone, destroyed by an alien beam weapon. But she had moved to the emergency command post deep inside the ship and continued directing the fight. "Status report," she called to her officers. "We've lost the Defiant and the Courage," reported Commander Hayes. "The Relentless is heavily damaged, but still fighting. Our weapons are at 60% capability. And the aliens? They've lost 8 ships. The survivors are trying to retreat, but they're not moving fast enough." Phillips looked at the tactical display on the emergency screen. The Zephyrian ships were indeed trying to withdraw, but human vessels were pursuing them. The humans had learned something important about their enemies. The beautiful alien ships were fast and elegant, but they weren't built to take punishment. All ships continue the attack. Don't let them regroup. The final phase of the battle was the most brutal. The Zephyrians tried to escape using their superior speed, but the humans had predicted this. Captain Lisa Hayes commanded the UN's Relentless, the fastest ship in the human fleet. Her destroyer was badly damaged. The hull was cracked, half the weapons were offline, and life support was failing. But the engines still worked, and that was enough. "All remaining power to engines," she ordered. "We're going to catch those pretty ships and show them what happens when you threaten Earth." The Relentless accelerated after the retreating aliens. Its damaged hull glowed red from the heat of overloaded engines. Pieces of armor plating fell away as the ship pushed beyond its safety limits. Hayes caught up with a Zephyrian escort vessel and opened fire with her remaining weapons. The alien ship's shields collapsed under the concentrated attack. The crystal hull shattered like glass. "That's for the mining station," Hayes said grimly, but her victory was short-lived. 3 Zephyrian ships surrounded the Relentless and fired simultaneously. The human destroyer was torn apart while multiple beam weapons dot as her ship died around her. Hayes sent one final message to Admiral Phillips. "Tell my family I did my duty. No retreat, no surrender." The battle was ending, but not the way anyone had expected. Both fleets were in ruins. The space between Mars and Jupiter was filled with wreckage and debris from destroyed ships. Of the original 20 Zephyrian vessels, only 6 remained functional. Of the 8 human ships, only 3 were still capable of fighting. But the psychological impact was devastating for the aliens. Commander Vex High stood on his damaged bridge and looked at the tactical display. His beautiful fleet was gone. His elegant formations were broken. His superior technology had been defeated by crude human weapons and brutal human tactics. For the first time in Zephyrian history, they had met an enemy that refused to be impressed by their superiority. The humans didn't care how advanced the alien technology was. They just wanted to destroy it. "Sir," his communications officer said quietly, "we're receiving another message from the human admiral." Phillips appeared on the screen. Her uniform was torn and dirty. There was blood on her face from when the bridge was destroyed, but her eyes were still cold and determined. "Commander Vex High, this battle is over. Withdraw your remaining ships from human space immediately, or we will destroy them too." Vex High looked at her with a mixture of fear and respect. This human had lost most of her fleet, but she was still making demands. She still acted like she had won. The terrible thing was, she had won. Not through superior technology or elegant tactics, but through sheer, brutal determination to keep fighting no matter what the cost. "You have taught us something today," Vex High said finally. "Something we did not expect to learn." "What's that?" Phillips asked. "That there are worse things than death. Like meeting an enemy that doesn't know how to quit." The surviving Zephyrian ships limped away from the battlefield. Their crystal hulls were cracked and darkened. The elegant formations that had conquered 17 star systems were broken forever. Commander Vex High sat in his damaged command chair and stared at the tactical display showing the wreckage of both fleets. "Prepare a message to the High Command," he told his communications officer. The young Zephyrian's hands shook as he worked at his console. "What should I tell them, sir?" Vex High was quiet for a long moment. How could he explain what had happened here? How could he make the High Command understand what they had discovered in this remote star system? "Tell them we have made contact with a species called humans. Tell them these beings are more dangerous than anything we have ever encountered. But sir, we defeated them. We destroyed most of their fleet, did we?" Vex High looked at the display again. Yes, the human ships were gone, but somehow it felt like the humans had won. They had shown the Zephyrians something that would haunt them forever, what it looked like when a species refused to surrender. "Send this message exactly as I dictated," Vex High said. "We encountered a primitive species that should have been an easy conquest. Instead, we found warriors who treat death as just another weapon. They do not fight for glory or honor. They fight to survive, and they will sacrifice everything for victory." Meanwhile, Admiral Phillips stood in the emergency command center of the Un's Valor. Her ship was barely functional, held together by emergency repairs and the determination of her crew. Through the damaged viewports, she could see the retreating alien vessels getting smaller in the distance. "Should we pursue them?" asked Commander Hayes. Her uniform was torn, and she had a bandage around her head, but she was still ready to fight. "No," Phillips said. "Let them go. They've learned what they came here to learn." "What's that?" "That humans don't make good victims." Phillips walked to the communications station. "Get me a channel to Earth Command." The screen flickered and showed the face of General Robert Stone, the head of Earth's military forces. He looked worried. "Admiral Phillips, we've been monitoring your battle. Status report. Mission accomplished, sir. The alien fleet has been repelled. They're withdrawing from the system." "At what cost?" Phillips looked around the damaged command center. "Heavy losses, sir. We lost 5 ships and most of their crews. The surviving vessels are badly damaged." "I'm sorry, Kate. Those were good people." "Yes, they were. And they died protecting Earth. But, sir, this was just the beginning. These aliens have a whole empire behind them. They'll be back with more ships." General Stone nodded grimly. "What do you recommend?" "Full mobilization. We need to build more ships, train more crews, and prepare for a real war. The aliens underestimated U.S. this time. They won't make that mistake again. How long do we have? Unknown. But based on what I saw today, they're going to think very carefully before they come back." On the Zephyrian command ship, Vex High was having a similar conversation with his superiors. The holographic image of Supreme Commander Athrian filled the communication chamber. The elderly Zephyrian's expression was cold with displeasure. "Explain. How you lost 14 ships to a primitive species," Athrian demanded. "They were not what we expected, Supreme Commander. The humans do not fight like any species we have encountered. They have no concept of elegant warfare. When they attack, they use everything they have. When they are losing, they become more dangerous, not less." "You are making excuses for failure." "No, sir. I am trying to warn you about what we are facing. These humans turned their own ships into weapons. They sacrificed themselves without hesitation to destroy our vessels. They fought like cornered animals." Athrian leaned forward in his throne. "Are you saying these primitives are superior to us?" "Not superior in technology, but in warfare. Yes, Supreme Commander. They are the most dangerous enemy we have ever encountered." The hologram flickered with interference from the damaged ships. Systems. When it stabilized, Athrian's expression had changed from anger to concern. What are you recommending, Commander? Complete withdrawal from human space, sir. Immediate establishment of a quarantine zone around their entire star system. And absolutely no further contact until we understand what we are dealing with. You want us to retreat from primitives? I want us to survive, Supreme Commander. These humans don't just fight wars, they solve them. Like a mathematical problem that needs to be eliminated. They don't care about honor, glory, or showing mercy. They only care about protecting their people, and they will do anything to accomplish that goal. The communication ended, leaving HFY alone with his thoughts. Around him, his crew worked quietly to repair their damaged ship. The elegant crystal hall would never shine the same way again. More importantly, the Zephyrian confidence in their own superiority had been shattered forever. Back on Earth, news of the battle was spreading quickly. In military headquarters, government buildings, and civilian homes, people were learning that they were not alone in the universe, and that the universe was not a friendly place. President Maria Santos called an emergency meeting with her top advisors. The Situation Room was filled with generals, admirals, scientists, and intelligence officials. How bad is it? She asked Admiral Phillips, who had returned to Earth aboard a rescue ship. Bad and good, Madam President. Bad because we're facing an interstellar empire with technology beyond ours. Good because we proved that superior technology doesn't always win battles. What do we need to do? Prepare for war. Real war, not just one battle. We need to build a fleet that can protect not just Earth, but all human colonies. We need weapons that can fight alien technology. And we need to be ready for anything. Dr. Frank Miller, the head of the Science Advisory Board, raised his hand. Admiral, you studied the alien ships during the battle. What did you learn? They're more advanced than us in energy weapons, shields, and propulsion. But they have a critical weakness. They're not built for the kind of warfare we practice. Their ships are designed to look impressive and fight elegant duels. Our ships are designed to absorb punishment and dish out massive damage. So we can beat them in individual battles, maybe. But they have an entire empire. We have one star system. If we're going to survive, we need to change those odds. President Santos looked around the room. What's our timeline? Unknown, Phillips replied. But based on the alien commander's reaction, I think we bought ourselves some time. They're going to go back and report what happened here. Their leaders will need time to process the fact that they lost a fleet to primitives. That gives us a window to prepare. How long? 6 months to 2 years, depending on how their government works. But when they come back, it won't be with 20 ships. It will be with 200. The meeting continued for hours, but the basic plan was simple. Humanity would prepare for the fight of its life. Shipyards would be built, weapons would be designed, and every human would be ready to defend their species. 3 weeks later, on a distant Zephyrian world, the High Command met in emergency session. The Great Crystal Palace had never seen such heated debate. 17 species had fallen to Zephyrian might, but now a primitive world had bloodied their nose. Supreme Commander Athrian read HFY's full report to the assembled leaders. The chamber was silent as he described human tactics, human weapons, and human determination. These beings do not fight like civilized species, he concluded. They fight like wild beasts defending their pack. But they are not stupid beasts. They are intelligent, organized, and completely without fear. Minister Kyloth, the head of military planning, stood to speak. Surely we can overwhelm them with numbers. Send 1,000 ships instead of 20, and lose 1,000 ships instead of 20, replied war leader Zexara. Did you not hear the report? These humans turned their own vessels into weapons. They sacrificed themselves without hesitation. What happens when we send 1,000 ships and they start ramming our vessels. The loss ratios would still favor us, would they? How do you calculate loss ratios against an enemy that considers death an acceptable tactic? How do you plan elegant formations against opponents who simply attack with everything they have? The debate raged for days. Some leaders wanted immediate revenge. Others called for caution. A few suggested that the humans should be left alone entirely. Finally, Supreme Commander Athrayan made the decision that would shape the future of both species. We will withdraw all forces from human space. A quarantine zone will be established around their star system. No Zephyrian vessel will approach within 10 light years of their territory. You are giving in to primitives, protested Minister Kyloth. I am preventing a war that we might not win, Athrayan replied. Commander Vex High faced 8 human warships and lost 14 of his 20 vessels. What happens when we face 800 human warships? Or 8,000? We have superior technology. Technology is not everything. These humans have something we have never encountered in our conquests: the absolute refusal to admit defeat. They would rather die fighting than live in surrender. That makes them the most dangerous enemy imaginable. The final vote was close, but wisdom prevailed over pride. The Zephyrian Empire would not attack humanity again. At least, not yet. But the message was sent to every world in the Empire. A new species H.
The alarm blared through Project Dawn's main facility, its harsh sound echoing off the steel walls. Captain James Walker ran down the corridor, his boots clicking against the polished floor. Something had gone terribly wrong with humanity's first faster-than-light drive, and it was happening just 3 days before the big test. "Talk to me, Emma. What's the status?" he shouted as he burst into the control room. Dr. Emma Reed stood hunched over a computer screen, her face lit by its blue glow. Dark circles under her eyes showed she hadn't slept in days. "It's bad, James. The quantum core is breaking down at the molecular level. It's like it's eating itself." She pushed her glasses up and rubbed her tired eyes. "This shouldn't be possible. We triple-checked everything." Walker leaned over her shoulder, studying the readings. The FTL drive they'd spent 10 years building was literally falling apart. Tiny holes were appearing in the quantum core's structure, spreading like cancer. All their hopes of reaching the stars, all their dreams of expansion beyond Earth's solar system, were crumbling before their eyes. "Get everyone out of the testing chamber," Walker ordered, hitting the facility-wide comm button. "Full evacuation. Now." Through the observation window, Walker watched as scientists and engineers rushed out of the massive chamber that housed the FTL drive. The machine itself was beautiful, a 30-foot-tall cylinder of gleaming metal and pulsing light, representing the peak of human achievement, or at least it had been until 10 minutes ago. "James," Emma called out suddenly. "Look at this." She pointed to her screen, where she'd magnified the image of the deteriorating quantum core. "These patterns, they're not random." Walker squinted at the display. The holes appearing in the core material indeed formed a distinct pattern, almost like. "It looks manufactured," he said slowly, the realization hitting him. "This isn't a malfunction. This is sabotage." Emma's fingers flew across the keyboard, running more detailed scans. "These are nanobots," she said, her voice filled with a mixture of horror and fascination. "Incredibly advanced ones. They're programmed to break down specific atomic bonds in our quantum core." Walker's fist slammed against the desk. Who could have done this? China? Russia? The European Union? Emma shook her head, pulling up more data. "James, look at the construction of these nanobots. The materials, the programming. This isn't human technology. We're at least 50 years away from something this sophisticated." The implications hit Walker like a physical blow. If Emma was right, and she usually was, then they weren't dealing with human saboteurs. The thought was both terrifying and oddly thrilling. "Are you saying?" "We're not alone," Emma finished. And whoever's out there doesn't want us joining them in the stars. Over the next 48 hours, Project Dawn turned into a hive of activity. The FTL drive was quarantined, but it was too late to save it. The nanobots had reduced the quantum core to useless dust. Teams of scientists worked around the clock, studying every piece of data they could salvage. Walker stood in his office, staring out the window at the New Mexico desert. The evening sun painted the sand orange, but he barely noticed the beauty. His mind was racing with possibilities and implications. He'd joined the military space program to help humanity reach the stars. Never had he imagined he'd be dealing with actual aliens, hostile ones at that. A knock on his door interrupted his thoughts. Emma walked in, carrying a tablet and looking even more exhausted than before. "You need to see this," she said, placing the tablet on his desk. "We've been going through old data, looking for anything unusual. Look at these energy readings from 6 months ago." Walker studied the graphs she showed him. "These spikes, they're not from our systems. No, they match the energy signature of the nanobots. Whatever did this has been watching us for months, maybe longer. They waited until we were almost ready to test the drive before they struck." Walker's jaw clenched. "They wanted us to know. They could have sabotaged us early in development, but they waited until we'd invested everything. They wanted to send a message." "There's more," Emma said, swiping to a new screen. "We found this embedded in the nanobot's code structure. It's not exactly writing, but, well, look." The screen showed a complex pattern that repeated over and over. After a moment, Walker realized it was a star map. One point was clearly marked, different from the others. "We think it's their location," Emma explained, "or at least one of their bases. It's like they signed their work. They're so advanced, they don't even care if we know who did it. Or they're arrogant," Walker said, his mind already working on possibilities. "They think we're so far behind them technologically that it doesn't matter if we know." Emma nodded slowly. "The level of technology in just these nanobots, it's incredible. The way they work, the materials they're made from, it's like science fiction. We could learn so much just from studying the remains." Walker straightened up, a plan forming in his mind. "Get me everything you can on these nanobots. Every scrap of data, every theory, everything. And Emma, keep this quiet. If there really are aliens out there trying to keep us down, we need to be smart about this. What are you thinking?" Emma asked, recognizing the look in his eyes. "I'm thinking it's time humanity showed these aliens they picked the wrong species to mess with. They left us their signature. Fine. Maybe it's time we paid them a visit." Over the next few days, as the public was told that Project Dawn had suffered a major technical setback, Walker and Emma worked secretly with a small team. They studied every piece of alien technology they could salvage from the ruins of their FTL drive. The nanobots had mostly destroyed themselves after completing their mission, but they hadn't counted on human determination and ingenuity. In his private moments, Walker couldn't help but smile at the aliens' mistake. They thought they were sending humanity a message, showing them their place in the cosmic hierarchy. Instead, they'd given humanity its first pieces of advanced alien technology to study. More importantly, they'd given humanity something it had never had before: proof that faster-than-light travel was possible, and a target to aim for. In a secure underground room, Walker met with the United Earth Defense Council. The faces around the table were grim as he laid out what they'd discovered. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, standing at the head of the table, "we've been attacked. Not by any nation on Earth, but by an alien civilization that wants to keep us grounded. They think they've won. They think they've sent us back to square one." He paused, looking each council member in the eye. "I say we show them how humans respond to bullies." The council chamber erupted in discussion, but Walker could see the fire in their eyes. Humanity had just been pushed down, but like always, they would get back up. And this time, they'd come back stronger. As he left the council chamber with approval for his new mission, Walker looked up at the stars through a window. Somewhere up there, an advanced alien civilization was probably congratulating itself on keeping humanity in its place. They had no idea what was coming. Emma met him in the corridor. The council approved it. Walker nodded. Project Phoenix is a go. Start putting together your team. We're going to need the best minds on Earth for this. And if we run into these aliens? She asked. Walker's smile was grim. Then we'll thank them for the technology they so kindly left us, right before we show them how humans improve on everything we touch. The stars twinkled above them, holding both threat and promise. Humanity's first faster-than-light drive was destroyed, but from its ashes, something new would rise. The aliens who had tried to stop human progress had instead guaranteed it. They just didn't know it yet. The underground facility buzzed with activity as Walker studied the holographic display, showing their latest stealth technology test results. 3 months had passed since the alien sabotage, and Project Phoenix was moving faster than anyone had expected. Humans, as it turned out, worked best when they were angry. The test results are promising, Dr. Marcus Stone said, pointing to the energy readings. The quantum physicist had joined the team 2 months ago, and his brilliant mind had already proved invaluable. We've managed to replicate the cloaking effect we found in the alien nanobot's outer shell. How long until we can scale it up? Walker asked, his eyes fixed on the data streams. That's the interesting part. Marcus grinned, pulling up another display. Dr. Wells thinks she's found a way to improve it. Dr. Anna Wells stepped forward from her workstation. The AI specialist had dark circles under her eyes, but they sparkled with excitement. The alien stealth technology is good, but it's wasteful. They're using complex systems where simple ones would work better. It's like they never stopped to question their original designs. Walker raised an eyebrow. It wasn't the first time they'd found inefficiencies in the alien tech. Show me. Anna's fingers danced across the holographic controls. Look here. Their cloaking system uses quantum fields to bend light and other forms of radiation, but they're generating these fields using massive amounts of energy. We found a way to achieve the same effect with just 30% of the power. Emma walked in just as Anna was explaining, carrying a tablet filled with her latest findings. It's not just the cloaking system, she added. Everything we've reverse-engineered from their tech shows the same pattern. They're technically advanced, but rigid. No creativity. Walker smiled. It was exactly what they needed. A weakness they could exploit. The aliens might have better technology, but humans had something they didn't. The ability to think outside the box. How soon can we have a working prototype? He asked. 2 weeks for the small-scale version, Anna replied. A month for something big enough to hide a ship. Walker nodded. Make it 3 weeks. The Meridian Collective isn't going to wait forever to check on their handiwork. They had learned the aliens' name from fragments of code in the nanobots. The Meridian Collective, an advanced civilization that saw themselves as the guardians of proper technological development in the galaxy. In their eyes, humanity was moving too fast, too recklessly. In the facility's break room later that day, Walker found Marcus staring into his coffee cup. Something on your mind? Just thinking about what we're about to do, Marcus replied. We're going to steal from one of the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy. One wrong move. One wrong move and Earth stays grounded forever, Walker finished. But the right moves. We show them that humanity deserves its place among the stars. Marcus smiled slightly. You make it sound simple. It is simple. They think we're primitive. That makes us dangerous. The next 3 weeks passed in a blur of activity. The underground facility, hidden beneath an abandoned mining operation in Nevada, became a hive of innovation. Every piece of alien technology they'd salvaged from the nanobots was studied, taken apart, and improved upon. Emma and her engineering team worked on replicating the alien materials. Anna's AI systems learned to crack alien encryption codes. Marcus solved quantum equations that would have won him a Nobel Prize if they weren't completely classified. Walker watched it all with pride. This was humanity at its finest, backed into a corner but fighting back with everything they had. Final test running, Anna announced one evening, as they prepared to demonstrate their completed stealth system. The prototype ship, really just a small shuttle, sat in the center of the testing chamber. Energy readings flared on the monitors as the system activated. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then, slowly, the shuttle began to fade from view, not just invisible, but completely undetectable to any form of scanning they could throw at it. "It works," Emma whispered, checking and rechecking the readings. "It actually works better than their version." Walker touched the invisible hull of the shuttle. They couldn't see it, but it was solid under his hand. "How many can we build?" "With current resources, 3 ships this size," Emma replied. "But Walker, we found something else while working on this." She led him to her lab, where a complex diagram filled one of the screens. "We've been studying their quantum communication systems, the ones they use to control the nanobots. They don't just send data. They're part of a massive network, like an interstellar internet." Walker's eyes widened as he understood. "You can tap into their communications." "Better." Emma's smile was fierce. "We can find their facilities, their shipping routes, their research stations, everything." The implications were staggering. They wouldn't have to blindly search for alien technology to steal. They could pick their targets. That night, Walker called a meeting with the core team. Emma, Marcus, and Anna sat around the conference table, along with key members of their support staff. 3 weeks from now, Walker began, we launch Operation Payback. 3 ships, 3 targets. We've identified a research station in the Kuiper Belt where they've been watching us from. That's our primary target. He brought up a holographic map showing the station's location. They think they're hidden, but thanks to Dr. Reed's work with their quantum network, we can see them clear as day. We go in, we take what we need, and we get out. What if we run into their security? Marcus asked. Then we show them what happens when you back humans into a corner, Anna replied, a glint in her eye. Our improved versions of their tech should give them a nasty surprise. The room filled with determined nods. Everyone there had lost years of work when the aliens destroyed Project Dawn. This was their chance to take it all back, and then some. 3 teams, Walker continued. I'll lead Alpha Team to the research station. Dr. Reed, you'll take Beta Team to their communication relay. Dr. Wells, you've got Gamma Team hitting their supply depot. Dr. Stone will coordinate from here and monitor their quantum network for any signs we've been detected. Emma raised her hand. What exactly are we looking for once we're inside? Everything, Walker replied. Their FTL technology, weapons, shields, anything we can use. But most importantly, we need their quantum crystalline processors. Without those, we can't build our own advanced systems. The room grew quiet as the magnitude of what they were about to attempt sank in. They were about to steal from beings who could cross the galaxy in the blink of an eye. One more thing, Walker added, his voice grave. If any team is detected, you abort immediately. We can't risk them tracing us back to Earth. We get one shot at this. Let's make it count. As the meeting broke up, Walker stayed behind, looking at the holographic display of their targets. Somewhere up there, the Meridian Collective thought they had won. They thought they had put humanity back in its place. They were about to learn just how wrong they were. The stolen alien stealth technology worked perfectly. Walker's ship hung invisible in space near the Meridian Research Station, which looked like a giant silver snowflake spinning slowly against the stars. Through the viewport, he could see the station's crystalline arms stretching out for miles, each one filled with laboratories and research facilities. Beta Team in position. Emma's voice came through the quantum comm. Her ship was stationed near the communication relay, waiting for their signal. Gamma Team ready, Anna reported from the supply depot location. Walker checked his tactical display. They had spent weeks planning this mission, studying the station's patterns. Now it was time to see if their improvements on the alien tech really worked. Remember, Marcus's voice came from mission control back on Earth. You have a 20-minute window before their security scan cycles. Don't get greedy. Walker nodded to his team. They were all wearing reverse-engineered versions of Meridian environmental suits, modified to work better with human biology. Alpha team moving in. Start the clock. Their ship glided silently toward the station. The improved stealth system worked even better in space than it had during testing. They approached an airlock on one of the outer arms, where their scans had shown minimal activity. They're not even using basic motion sensors, one of Walker's team members whispered in awe. They really don't expect anyone to be able to reach them out here. Their arrogance is our advantage, Walker replied, watching as their computer system interfaced with the airlock. The alien code they'd stolen from the nanobots did its work, and the door slid open silently. Inside, the station was beautiful. The corridors were made of some kind of transparent crystal that seemed to glow from within. Their footsteps made no sound on the polished floor. Beta team breaching now, Emma reported over the comm. Gamma team entering through maintenance shaft, Anna added. Walker led his team through the crystalline corridors, following the map they'd pieced together from stolen data. The few Meridian aliens they saw were tall, silvery beings who walked with an air of casual superiority. None of them gave the human team a second glance, their stolen suits making them look like just another group of researchers. Primary lab ahead, Walker's second-in-command reported, checking a scanner they'd modified to detect quantum energy signatures, strong power readings. The lab doors opened automatically for them, their stolen access codes working perfectly. Inside, Walker had to stop himself from gasping. The room was enormous, filled with technology that made their most advanced equipment look like children's toys. Spread out. Get everything you can, he ordered. Priority on the quantum processors and FTL data cores. His team moved quickly, using specially designed devices to copy alien data and collect small but crucial components. Everything was going smoothly, too smoothly. Walker, Marcus's voice came through suddenly, tense with worry. We're picking up some strange readings from the quantum network. I think they're... The message cut off in a burst of static. At the same moment, alarms began blaring throughout the station. This is not a normal security scan, one of Walker's team reported, checking their instruments. They know we're here. All teams, abort mission, Walker ordered, but Emma's voice cut in. Negative. We need 2 more minutes to get the core data from the relay. Without it, everything else is useless. Walker cursed under his breath. Beta and Gamma, get what you can and get out. Alpha team, we're going to make some noise. He turned to his team. New plan. We're going to give them something obvious to chase. He pointed to the far end of the lab. Plant charges there. Non-lethal, just flashy. Then head to emergency exit point 2. I'll meet you there. As his team moved to follow orders, Walker ran to the central console. They needed something to show for this mission, something worth the risk. His fingers flew over the alien controls, using every code-breaking trick Anna had developed. The alarms grew louder. Through the crystal walls, he could see Meridian security forces gathering. They moved with the same arrogant precision as everything else they did. No urgency, no adaptation, just following standard procedures. Beta team clear, Emma reported. We got the core data. Gamma team retreating with acquired resources, Anna added. Walker smiled as his console finally gave him what he wanted. Access to the station's main research database. He plugged in a quantum storage device and started downloading everything. The charges his team planted went off, filling the far end of the lab with blinding light and harmless but impressive-looking energy discharges. As he'd hoped, the Meridian security forces immediately moved to investigate, following their protocols perfectly. Alpha team, what's your status? Marcus's voice had returned, heavy with concern. Getting what we came for, Walker replied, watching the download progress. Have you seen their response? They're not even trying to lock down the whole station. They're just following their security playbook step by step. Don't get cocky, Marcus warned. Their tech is still way ahead of ours. Maybe, Walker agreed, grabbing the storage device as the download completed. But they don't know how to improvise. He ran for the emergency exit, hearing the confused communications of Meridian security behind him. They were still focusing on the distraction, still following their procedures, while he took a route their protocols didn't cover. The trip back to the ship was tense but manageable. The Meridians had never considered that someone might use their own stealth technology against them, and they hadn't updated their security systems to detect it. All teams report, Walker called as his ship detached from the station. Beta team clear, heading home, Emma replied. We got their communication protocols and quantum network specifications. Gamma team away, Anna reported. Secured samples of their advanced materials and power systems. Walker looked at the storage device in his hand. Alpha team heading out. We got their research database, and he checked another device attached to his suit, samples of their quantum processors. As their ships moved away from the station, they could see the Meridian security vessels beginning to respond. But the aliens were still following standard search patterns, still behaving exactly as their protocols dictated. They're not even considering that we might have improved their stealth tech, Emma observed, a note of satisfaction in her voice. Their weakness is their strength, Walker replied, watching the alien ships search futilely. They're so advanced, they've forgotten how to think creatively. Everything is processes and protocols for them. The journey back to Earth was tense but uneventful. Their stolen and improved stealth technology kept them hidden from the Meridian ships that were now actively searching the system. In the debriefing room back on Earth, Walker looked at the assembled team. Despite their success, he knew the hard part was just beginning. We got what we needed, he announced, but now comes the real challenge. We have to understand it, improve it, and prepare to use it. Because once we do, once we start building our own advanced chips and technology, the Meridians will notice. Emma held up the data core from the relay station. They'll notice, but by then it'll be too late. They think they know everything about how their technology can be used. Wait until they see what humans can do with it. Walker nodded, looking at each member of the team. They were tired but proud, and more importantly, they were ready for the next phase. The Meridians think they're superior because they have better technology, he said. Let's show them what happens when you give humanity some new tools to play with. The stolen quantum processor sat on Emma's workbench, its crystalline structure catching the light. 2 months had passed since the heist, and Project Phoenix's underground facility had transformed into something that looked like a cross between a human lab and an alien research center. Watch this, Emma said to Walker, who had just walked in for the daily progress report. She pressed a button on her console, sending a surge of power through the alien device. The processor lit up with an inner glow, but instead of the steady blue light they'd seen in the Meridian station, it pulsed with rainbow colors. Is it supposed to do that? Walker asked, concerned. Emma grinned. That's the beautiful part. We're not just using it. We're pushing it past what the Meridians thought possible. They designed these processors to be stable and predictable. We're teaching them to dance. Across the room, Anna was working with a team of programmers, their screens filled with a mixture of human and alien code. The Meridian's AI systems are incredibly advanced, she called out, but they're also incredibly wasteful. They use quantum processing for everything, even simple tasks that a regular computer could handle better. Walker walked over to her station. Can we do better? We already are. Anna pulled up a comparison chart. By combining our traditional computing systems with their quantum processors, we're getting performance that's 5 times better than their pure quantum systems. They never even thought to try it. Probably seemed too primitive to them. The excitement in the facility was contagious. Every day brought new breakthroughs as human creativity crashed into alien precision. Marcus had set up a testing chamber where they were experimenting with the Meridian's power systems, finding ways to make them more efficient by breaking all the rules the aliens had built into them. They're like master craftsmen who never question their training, Marcus explained to Walker as they watched a test of their hybrid power core. They do everything perfectly, but they're stuck in their ways. We're like kids who don't know what's impossible, so we try anyway. And sometimes it works. The stolen database was proving to be a goldmine of information, but not in the way they'd expected. The Meridian's technical documentation was thorough but rigid, filled with warnings about exactly what not to do with their technology. Human engineers took these warnings as challenges, deliberately pushing systems beyond their supposed limits. "Look at this," Emma said one evening, calling Walker to her lab. She had connected one of their improved quantum processors to a holographic display. The image it projected wasn't the clean, precise hologram the Meridians used, but something more vibrant and dynamic. Their holograms can only show what's in their approved pattern libraries, she explained. We modified the system to generate images on the fly. It uses more power, but it can show anything we can imagine. Walker watched the swirling colors with satisfaction. How long until we can start building ships? That's the thing, Emma replied, pulling up another display. We don't need to build their ships. We can build something better. She showed him the designs they'd been working on. The ships looked nothing like the elegant but sterile Meridian vessels. These were hybrids, combining the best of human and alien technology in ways the Meridians had never considered. We're calling it the Phoenix class, she said proudly. Faster than their ships, more maneuverable, and armed with weapons they won't expect. Because they're impossible, Walker asked with a smile. Because they're simple, Anna cut in, joining them. The Meridians use complex quantum weapons that can tear apart atomic bonds. We're building guns that shoot good old-fashioned projectiles, just accelerated to near-light speed using their own power systems. The work continued day and night. The Meridian database had included their faster-than-light drive specifications, but humanity wasn't content to just copy them. The human engineers found ways to streamline the system, removing redundancies that the safety-obsessed Meridians had built in. They're so afraid of their systems failing that they build in backups for their backups, Marcus explained during a test of their prototype drive. But all those backup systems slow everything down. We're stripping out the extras and adding human-style emergency protocols instead. Is it safe? Walker asked, watching the drive power up. Safe enough, Marcus replied with a grin. And twice as fast as their version. The breakthrough they'd all been waiting for came 3 months after the heist. Emma called an emergency meeting in the main lab, her face glowing with excitement. We've cracked it, she announced to the assembled team. We know why they sabotaged us, why they were so afraid of our original FTL project. She pulled up a comparison between humanity's original drive design and the Meridian version. Look at this, our original design. The one they destroyed. It was better than theirs. More primitive in some ways, yes, but also more innovative. If they'd let us finish it, we would have embarrassed them. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. The Meridians hadn't attacked out of fear that humanity was developing too quickly. They'd attacked because humanity was developing in the wrong direction, finding solutions that made their carefully maintained technological superiority look foolish. So what now? Walker asked, looking at the prototype ship taking shape in the assembly bay. Now. Emma's smile was fierce. Now we take everything they gave us, everything we stole from them, and we make it work our way. We build ships that their sensors can't predict because we're not following their rules. We make weapons they can't defend against because we're not using their playbook. The next few weeks were a blur of activity as they prepared their first full-size ship for testing. It looked dangerous, a combination of smooth Meridian crystal and aggressive human engineering. The quantum processors had been pushed to their limits, then reconfigured to work in ways the Meridians had never imagined. Ready for power-up sequence, Anna announced from her station. The ship's bridge was a hybrid too, combining holographic displays with physical controls that humans could feel and manipulate. Walker sat in the captain's chair, watching as systems came online. The ship hummed with power, but not the steady, predictable hum of a Meridian vessel. This was something new, something that shouldn't have worked according to their database, but did anyway. All systems operational, Emma reported. The hybrid drive is stable. Hull integrity at 100%. Weapons are hot. Walker looked at the weapons display with satisfaction. The Meridians would be expecting quantum disruption beams and energy weapons. They wouldn't be looking for railguns powered by their own quantum cores, or missiles guided by hybrid AI systems that could think in ways their rigid programs couldn't predict. Begin final system check, he ordered. The Meridians will notice us eventually, and when they do, Emma finished, they'll learn that giving humans access to advanced technology doesn't make us more like them. It just lets us be ourselves more efficiently. The ship's engines pulsed with power, not the clean, precise power of a Meridian drive, but something wilder and stronger. Humanity was ready to return to the stars. And this time, they weren't following anyone else's rules. The alert came on a quiet Tuesday morning. Marcus burst into the command center, his face pale with excitement. They're here. A Meridian fleet just appeared at the edge of our solar system. Walker was already moving, sending the signal that would activate their defense plans. Throughout the underground base, lights flashed as crews ran to their stations. 6 months of preparation were about to be tested. How many ships? He asked, studying the long-range sensor data. 15 vessels, Emma reported from her station. Standard Meridian patrol formation. They're not even trying to hide. They want us to see them coming. Walker smiled grimly. Of course they do. This is another message. Time to send one back. He activated the facility-wide comm. All crews to ships. This is not a drill. Repeat. All crews to ships. Their secret shipyards, hidden in abandoned mines and underwater facilities around the world, had produced 8 vessels of the new Phoenix class. Not as many as Walker would have liked, but they would have to be enough. The Meridians are broadcasting, Anna announced from the communication station. They're using standard frequencies. They want to make sure we can hear them. Put it through, Walker ordered. A hologram appeared in the center of the command room. The Meridian commander was tall and silvery, its movements precise and elegant. When it spoke, its voice was translated by their stolen and improved translation systems. Humans of Earth, the alien said, your recent theft of Meridian technology has been noted. Your primitive attempts to replicate our achievements are admirable but misguided. Surrender the stolen technology, and we will be merciful. Walker stepped forward. This is Captain James Walker of Earth. We appreciate your concern, but we'll be keeping what we took. In fact, we'd like to thank you for the inspiration. The Meridian commander's expression didn't change. Their faces weren't made for showing emotion, but its voice became colder. You were warned once. Your species is not ready for advancement. We will now remove your capacity for spaceflight entirely. The transmission cut off. Walker turned to his crew. Battle stations. Let's show them what humanity has done with their superior technology. The first Phoenix-class ship rose from its hidden base in the Nevada desert, its hybrid hull gleaming in the sunlight. Others emerged from their concealed locations around the globe. From the Australian outback, the Sahara Desert, the Brazilian rainforest, and the depths of the Pacific Ocean. Meridian fleet is advancing, Emma reported. They're using standard attack formation Delta, exactly like in their tactical database. Walker took his place in the command chair of the lead ship. They're fighting by the book. Let's throw away the book. All ships, execute Operation Wildcard. The Phoenix ships moved in patterns that would have horrified any Meridian commander. They broke formation, each ship acting independently, using maneuvers that the aliens' tactical computers would consider illogical or impossible. The Meridian fleet opened fire first, their quantum disruption beams lancing out across space. But the hybrid hulls of the Phoenix ships, combining Meridian crystals with human alloys in ways the aliens had never considered, absorbed or deflected the attacks. Their shields are configured to stop quantum weapons, Anna reported with satisfaction. They're not ready for what we built. All ships, weapons-free. The first salvo caught the Meridians completely by surprise. Instead of the energy weapons they were expecting, the Phoenix ships launched salvos of physically crafted projectiles, accelerated to near light speed by stolen and modified Meridian power cores. The alien shields, designed to stop energy attacks, were less effective against old-fashioned kinetic impacts. Direct hits on 3 enemy vessels, Marcus reported. Their shields are holding, but they're adapting their formations. They're falling back to defensive pattern Omega. Walker nodded, just like we thought they would. Spring the trap. 2 more Phoenix ships suddenly appeared behind the Meridian fleet, their improved stealth systems dropping away. The aliens had never considered that their cloaking technology could be modified to work at battle speeds. It violated too many of their safety protocols. The battle that followed was unlike anything either species had expected. The Meridian ships were more advanced in every way, but they fought like machines, following preset patterns and protocols. The human ships fought like humans, improvising, taking risks, using their hybrid technology in ways that the aliens' tactical computers couldn't predict. Their flagship is dropping power, Emma called out. The quantum shock from their own deflected weapons is overloading their systems. Walker watched as the Meridian fleet's perfect formation began to break apart. Their ships were designed to fight as a coordinated unit, each one playing its precise role. But the humans weren't fighting as a unit. They were fighting as individuals, each captain making their own decisions, creating chaos that the Meridians couldn't adapt to. They're transmitting again, Anna reported. The Meridian commander appeared once more, but its perfect posture was gone. This is impossible, it said. You cannot be using our technology this way. It violates all established protocols. That's humanity's specialty, Walker replied. We don't care about your protocols. We care about what works. Stand down your fleet, or we'll show you a few more impossible things. There was a long pause. Walker could almost see the alien commander struggling with concepts it had never been trained for. Finally, it spoke again. Your species, you have taken our most advanced technology and changed it, made it work in ways that should not be possible. There was something new in its voice, not quite respect, but perhaps the beginning of understanding. We must reconsider our assessment of humanity. Walker leaned forward. Here's what's going to happen. Your fleet will withdraw. You'll recognize Earth as an independent technological power. And in return, we'll share with you some of the improvements we've made to your technology. Improvements. The commander sounded genuinely confused. But our technology is already perfect. Perfect, but not optimal. Walker corrected. You built everything to be safe and predictable. We've found ways to make it better. Faster, more efficient. We can show you, if you're willing to learn. The Meridian ships began to power down their weapons. On the tactical display, Walker could see them reverting to their standard non-combat formation. But there was something different about it, something less rigid than before. The collective will need to discuss this, the commander said. Your species has demonstrated capabilities we did not think possible. This changes many calculations. That's what humans do, Walker replied. We change things. Sometimes we break them, but usually we make them better. As the Meridian fleet began its withdrawal, Walker looked around at his crew. Emma was already analyzing the battle data, finding ways to improve their systems even further. Anna was working on new tactical programs that combined human unpredictability with alien precision. Marcus was excitedly explaining to anyone who would listen how they could use what they'd learned to make their ships even more efficient. Captain, Emma called out, looking up from her station. The Meridians left us a message on their quantum network. It's an invitation. They want to establish formal diplomatic relations. Walker smiled. Send them our response. Tell them we look forward to showing them how much more their technology can do when you stop following all the rules. The Phoenix ships turned back toward Earth, their hybrid drives pulsing with power that was neither purely human nor purely alien, but something new and better than both. They had done more than defend their planet. They had shown the galaxy